Finally, Peter, James, and John wake up from their little nap. And they realize that they seem to have missed a few important things in this nap. Have you ever had one of those naps that's like so deep, that you wake up and not only are you unsure of where you are, but you're unsure of who you are? Those kinds of naps. You're like looking at your hands going, are those mine? Are they attached? It's like going on LSD, but you don't have to. It's just a deep nap. It's like that. It was one of those kind of deep naps. I wonder if that's what it was like for them. But here's the linchpin of this whole section for me as they're waking up. It says, when they became fully awake, they saw his glory and the two men standing with him. Here's the key for us. Here's the gem. Here's the revelation, the truth that all of us need. Here it is. Only the fully awake get to see God's glory. Only the fully awake get to see God's glory. And I think of that, and I think of how often in my life, as a Christ follower, as a father, as a pastor, as a husband, how often have I been asleep? Knowing that God is always revealing himself, he's always inviting me to see who he really is, and yet I've missed it so many times because I've been asleep. I've missed it in my slumber of saying, well, God, I guess this is as good as life gets. I really shouldn't hope for much more than this. I've missed it in the coma of numbing myself with this world's offerings, thinking somehow they would satisfy. I've missed it in my hibernation of saying, well, maybe when I get older, I'll really trust God with everything. Maybe then. I've been asleep more often than I want to admit. And yet, we see here that it's only the fully awake that get to see God's glory. God, would you awaken me? God, would you awaken us? Too often I've prayed, God, would you show yourself to me instead of praying, God, open my eyes to see you. God, let me awaken. And if there is a prayer that we would pray in this season, could it be that prayer? Wake me up, God. Let me see the fullness of your truth because I'm actually fully awake. As 1 John 3 tells us, but we know when Christ appears, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. So the promise is this, right? That when Jesus comes back, we're all going to be awake at that time. Our eyes will finally be open. But God is actually inviting us to be awake now. So the question then is, how and when will we awake?